The city didn't sleep. It just blinked slowly, like a tired predator waiting for its next move. Rain turned the cracked streets into a shimmering mess of neon reflections, perfect for bad decisions. And Kai Navarro had made plenty. Tonight wasn't supposed to be one of them. He sat behind the wheel of a blacked-out Dodge Charger, gloved hands steady, jaw tight. His eyes flicked toward the side mirror, 3 cars back, tinted windows. Victor Solano's men. They'd been tailing him since the docks. Rico's voice crackled through the earpiece. Yo, Kai. You got company. Kai smirked faintly. If by company you mean idiots who can't tail discreetly, yeah. Want me to lose them? No, Kai said calmly. Let's teach them some manners. He turned down an alley. Narrow, slick, lit by a single dying street lamp. Tires screeched behind him. The trap sprung fast. Shots cracked through the night. Metal ricocheted. Kai didn't flinch. He leaned out the window, returned 2 sharp bursts. 2 of Victor's cars spun out. The third one kept coming. Persistent, he muttered, jerking the wheel. The Charger slammed sideways, blocking the alley's exit. Gunfire answered. Kai ducked behind the door, breathing steady. Rico, he murmured. Plan B. A second later, an explosion boomed down the street. Smoke, alarms, panic. Kai used the chaos to slip away, boots splashing through puddles, the rain mixing with the metallic smell of gunpowder. He made it to his car again, slid inside, and floored it. He didn't notice the trunk wasn't fully shut. 3 blocks later, something rattled behind him. Kai frowned. Rico, you hear that? Negative. Why? Thought I heard. A muffled sneeze echoed. He slammed the brakes. The car jerked, tires squealing. He turned, eyes narrowing. No way. Grabbing his gun, Kai popped the trunk open. And there she was. A woman, soaked, trembling, clutching a half-eaten cookie, blinked up at him like a drenched kitten that had wandered into a lion's den. She said, hi. Kai just stared. She waved weakly. Don't shoot. Please. I bruise easily. He blinked once. Twice. Who the hell are you? Tessa. Tessa Quinn. You shot those guys back there. Observation skills on point, he said dryly. Why were you in my trunk? I was hiding. From who? She gestured vaguely. Them? Everyone? I don't know. There were men with guns and shouting and I panicked, okay? Kai exhaled slowly, pinching the bridge of his nose. Of all the cars in the city, you picked mine? Yeah, she said sheepishly. Lucky me? Kai lowered his gun, but didn't holster it. You saw what happened at the docks. Her eyes widened. I didn't mean to. I was just delivering coffee to some warehouse when the shooting started. He stared at her like she'd just confessed to petting a shark. You deliver coffee to gang meetups? She threw up her hands. I thought it was catering. How was I supposed to know you people do business with? Kai cut her off with a sharp look. Really intense customers, she finished meekly. He sighed. The kind of sigh that came from years of dealing with amateurs. All right, you're coming with me. What? Why? Because if Victor's guys saw you, you're dead in 2 hours. Her mouth fell open. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, let's go then. Kai shook his head. You're taking this way too well. I panicked quietly, she said with a nervous laugh. He gave her a look. Great. That'll be useful when the bullets start flying again. They drove in silence for a few miles. Tessa fidgeted with the seatbelt, eyes darting to the gun on his lap. So, are you like a bad guy? Kai's jaw flexed. Depends who's asking. Me. Then no. You sure? He gave her a side glance. You always talk this much? Only when I'm nervous. Or bored. Or breathing. Kai groaned quietly. Fantastic. When they reached the outskirts, Kai turned into a narrow dirt road hidden by trees. A lone cabin sat at the end, lights off, windows barred. This is your stop, he said, stepping out. Tessa hesitated. Wait, you're leaving me here? Not exactly. It's a safe house. She blinked. It looks like the set of a horror movie. Good. No one will look for you here. Comforting, she muttered. Inside, the place was surprisingly neat. Plain couch, small kitchen, 1 bedroom, no TV. Tessa frowned. Where's the Wi-Fi? Kai gave her a dead stare. You think I hide witnesses with internet access? You hide witnesses often? No. Just my luck tonight. She smirked. You sound thrilled. He ignored her and locked the door. Hours passed. Kai tried to focus on a call with Rico. She's a witness, Kai said lowly. We can't let Solano get her. And what about the cops? Rico asked. She'll squeal. She's too freaked out to squeal. For now. Boss, Rico said, voice half joking. You got yourself a roommate. Don't remind me, Kai muttered. He turned and nearly tripped over Tessa, who had dragged a blanket and pillow onto the floor. What are you doing? Sleeping, she said simply. On the floor? Couch is too dusty. You're seriously complaining about dust while hiding from hitmen? She shrugged. I have standards. Kai stared for a long second, then walked off muttering. I've officially lost control of my life. At 2 a.m., the microwave beeped. Kai's eyes snapped open. He grabbed his gun, stormed into the kitchen, and froze. Tessa stood there, barefoot in one of his hoodies, microwaving popcorn. Are you insane? He hissed. She jumped, spilling half the bag. I got hungry. It's 2 a.m. You can't light up the kitchen like a signal flare. I didn't light it up. It's just popcorn. It's a tracking beacon with butter, he shot back. She blinked. You're weirdly intense about snacks. He exhaled sharply, dragging a hand down his face. You're going to be the death of me. Promise? She said with a mischievous grin. He glared. She grinned wider. Kai stormed off, muttering under his breath. But 10 minutes later, he found himself smirking, just slightly, when the smell of popcorn drifted down the hall. Morning came slow. Tessa made coffee. Kai cleaned his guns in silence. The domestic contrast was ridiculous. So, she said, sipping loudly, what's your plan for me? Keep you alive until I figure something out. And after that? He didn't answer. She tilted her head. You don't actually know, do you? Kai's jaw twitched. You talk too much. You glare too much, she countered. Balance. He almost smiled. Almost. A knock rattled the door. Instantly, Kai's demeanor shifted, eyes cold, gun raised. He motioned for her to stay quiet. She nodded, mouth snapping shut for once. He opened the door a crack. Mira stood there, rain dripping from her leather jacket. Her sharp gaze swept over Kai, then the room. You're late checking in. Had a detour. Her eyes narrowed. What kind of detour? Kai hesitated. Civilian complication. Mira stepped inside, scanning the space. Her eyes landed on Tessa, who awkwardly waved. Myra's face hardened. You've got to be kidding me. She's a witness, Kai said flatly. She's a liability. She saw Solano's men. They'll hunt her down. Mira crossed her arms. Since when do we protect random girls? Kai's voice dropped an octave. Since I said so. Mira studied him for a moment, then huffed. Fine. But if she blows our cover, I'm not cleaning up the mess. Duly noted. Mira gave Tessa one last icy glance before leaving. Tessa turned to Kai. She seems fun. Try not to talk to her again, he said dryly. Oh, so she's the scary one. Got it. Kai's lips twitched. No, I'm the scary one. She looked him up and down. You? Please. You make popcorn threats. Kai exhaled in disbelief. Unbelievable. Night fell again. The storm outside raged, thunder shaking the windows. Kai checked the perimeter for the 5th time. Tessa watched him from the couch. You really think they'll find us? He didn't answer right away. They always do. Eventually. She frowned. Then why bother hiding? Because some people are worth the trouble. He caught himself after saying it, too honest. She smiled softly. That sounded almost human. He shot her a look. Don't get used to it. When she finally went to sleep, Kai sat near the window, keeping watch. He told himself he was just being cautious. But when he glanced at her, messy hair, curled up under a blanket, clutching that same stupid popcorn bowl, something unsteady tugged at his chest. By morning, the storm had cleared, but tension lingered like cigarette smoke. Kai stood by the kitchen window, watching the world outside the safe house stay still. Too still. The woods whispered secrets only the paranoid could hear. Behind him, the sound of crunching echoed. He didn't turn. You're eating chips at 7 a.m.? Tessa, sitting cross-legged on the couch, looked up mid-bite. Breakfast of champions. Kai sighed. You realize crumbs are trackable evidence, right? He looked away fast, muttering, she's trouble. But for the first time in years, the safe house didn't feel empty. And that terrified him more than any gun ever could. She blinked. You think Victor's guys are going to find us by following Dorito dust? He gave her a hard stare. Wouldn't rule it out. Tessa rolled her eyes, but there was a flicker of amusement. She had quickly realized Kai Navarro wasn't the type to joke often, which only made it more fun to push his buttons. She tossed him the bag. Want some? I don't eat junk. Oh, sorry. Didn't know you were sponsored by Kale. Kai shot her a glare, but she grinned. That's okay. More for me. He shook his head, returning to his phone. Mira had texted. Stay low. Solano's men are scouring the west side. Don't make contact. And keep your civilian quiet. He pocketed it with a low grunt. Keeping her quiet was like keeping a cat still in a bathtub. By noon, Tessa had grown restless. She paced the room, tugged the curtains open, then shut them again when Kai barked. Don't. What? They could be watching. Through trees? Drones. Binoculars. Thermal cams.
Tessa blinked. Wow.
You're fun at parties. I don't go to parties. Shocker. Bored, she started exploring. A closet full of weapons, neatly stacked. Wow, you're really into collecting metal sticks. Kai didn't look up. Those are rifles.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Totally normal. She found a drawer of cash, passports, and burner phones. Are you, like, in the witness relocation program, but the bad version?
Kai groaned.
Do you ever stop talking? Not really. Figures. When she tried to rearrange the furniture, he finally snapped. Touch that lamp again, and I'll duct tape you to the wall. She froze mid-move. You wouldn't. He gave her a flat look. Try me. She grinned slowly. You're bluffing. He raised an eyebrow, reached for duct tape on the counter. She gasped. You actually have some? I come prepared. Tessa burst out laughing, loud, unfiltered. Oh my God, you're serious. Kai pinched the bridge of his nose. This is going to be the longest week of my life. Around 3 p.m., Kai went to check the perimeter cameras, or rather, the one camera he had duct taped to a tree outside. Tessa followed like a curious shadow. Can I help?
No.
What if someone sneaks up on you? Then I'll handle it. What if they sneak up on me? Then scream. Loud. Got it. I'm good at that. I've noticed. He crouched beside a console. Camera 1 is stable. No movement. Tessa peered over his shoulder. So, do you just sit here, all day waiting for bad guys? Pretty much. That sounds miserable. Kai looked up briefly. It's peaceful. She snorted. Peaceful? You clean your guns for fun. He gave her a sidelong glance. What do you do for fun? Annoy people like you. Kai smirked faintly. Mission accomplished. By evening, Tessa had discovered the ancient radio in the corner and was determined to make it work. Kai sat on the couch, half dozing, when static exploded through the room. He jolted up, hand on his gun. Tessa yelped, twisting the dial. Oops. Found music. That's police chatter, Kai snapped. She froze.
Oh.
My bad. He snatched the radio, turned it off. Don't touch that again. But.
No.
But.
Tessa.
Fine, she muttered, folding her arms. You're really bad at bonding activities. Kai groaned. This isn't a vacation. Well, yeah, but you could at least pretend to be less Mafia. I'm not Mafia. She smirked. You definitely sound like someone who's Mafia. He opened his mouth to retort, then stopped when his phone buzzed. Rico again. Kai, Rico said, voice tight. We've got chatter from Solano's side. They think you're hiding something up north. How close? Kai asked. 2 miles, maybe less. Kai's eyes flicked toward the window. Copy that. Need backup? Not yet. Stay alert. He hung up, jaw clenched. Tessa noticed. What's wrong? Nothing. Liar. You have the same face as when my old boss realized the copier jammed. Kai grabbed his jacket. Stay inside. Where are you going? To make sure we're not about to have uninvited guests. Tessa bit her lip. Want me to come? He turned, expression unreadable.
No.
I don't need a distraction. She frowned. You mean help? I mean distraction.
Wow.
You're charming. He smirked faintly. You keep saying that like it's news. He left, disappearing into the dark line of trees. The silence that followed felt wrong. Tessa tried to distract herself by organizing snacks, which was ridiculous, but also comforting. Half an hour passed. Then another. No sound of footsteps. Her stomach twisted. What if something happened? Then she remembered his words. Stay inside. Yeah, right. She grabbed a flashlight and a broom, because she'd watched enough movies to know a weapon was essential, and stepped out into the cold night. The woods whispered and creaked. Tessa, she whispered to herself. This is stupid. Very, very stupid. Still, she kept walking, flashlight beam trembling. A shadow moved up ahead. Freeze, she shouted, swinging the broom. It smacked something solid.
Ow.
What the hell? Kai. Kai stood there, rubbing his shoulder, glaring. You hit me. You scared me. You're outside. You were gone too long. They glared at each other, both breathing hard. Finally, Tessa muttered, You're welcome for checking if you were dead. Kai exhaled slowly. You are the most exhausting human being I've ever met. Thank you, she said sweetly. That wasn't a compliment. Still counts. Back inside, Kai locked the door again and turned off the lights. Next time you wait, he said, voice low but not angry, more resigned. Tessa nodded. Okay. He glanced at the broom in her hands. You were gonna fight them off with that? It's multipurpose. Sweeping and self-defense. Kai couldn't help it, he laughed. Just a short, sharp sound, but genuine. Tessa blinked. Did you just laugh?
He coughed. No.
You did, she grinned. Oh my god, I made you laugh. Must have been a glitch. Glitch my foot, you totally. He held up a hand.
Tessa. What?
Don't ruin it. She smiled smugly.
Fine.
But I'm counting it as a win. Later that night, they found themselves eating instant noodles together at the counter. You always live like this? She asked between bites. Like what? Constantly tense. Constantly armed. Kai stared into his bowl. It's better than the alternative. Which is? He didn't answer. His eyes drifted, tired, haunted.
She softened.
You ever think about doing something else? He smirked faintly. Like what? Work retail? You look great in a name tag, she teased. Yeah, he said dryly. I'll put it right next to my bullet scars. Charming visual, she murmured. A quiet settled between them. Not awkward, but oddly comfortable. For the first time, Tessa noticed how his features softened when he wasn't trying to look intimidating. The faint scar near his jaw. The way his eyes shifted colors under the light, gray to green, depending on his mood. He caught her staring. What? Nothing, she said quickly, looking away.
Kai smirked.
You're terrible at lying. I'm great at lying. He leaned closer, voice dropping. Then why are you blushing? I'm not, he chuckled. Sure. She threw a noodle at him. It stuck to his shirt. He looked down, then back up. Did you just assault me with ramen? Self-defense, she said innocently. Against what? Your ego. He laughed again, quietly this time, and shook his head. You're impossible.
Admit it, she said.
You'd miss me if I were gone. Kai's smile faded. He looked at her, something flickering in his eyes. Don't test that theory. Her heart stuttered at the tone, calm, but heavy. For a moment, they just looked at each other, the tension shifting from playful to something else. Something dangerous. Then the kettle whistled. The spell broke.
Kai stood.
Get some sleep. Big day tomorrow. Why? Because we might not get another one. He left her sitting there, noodle cup forgotten, mind spinning. Hours later, Tessa couldn't sleep. She tossed, turned, gave up, and padded out to the couch. Kai was there, sitting by the window again, gun on the table, eyes distant. She hesitated. You ever sleep? Not much. She sat beside him. Mind if I? He shrugged. Free country. Kind of. They sat in silence. The woods hummed softly outside. After a while, she whispered, Thanks. For not killing me.
He smirked.
Still considering it. Rude. Accurate. She nudged his shoulder gently. You're not as scary as you think. Kai tilted his head. And you're not as quiet as you think. Guess we balance out. He looked at her. Really looked, and for a fleeting second, something unspoken passed between them. She smiled faintly. Good night, Kai. Good night, Tessa. When she walked away, he exhaled deeply. He dealt with cops, killers, and cartel heads, none of them half as dangerous as the girl currently stealing his peace of mind. And he knew, if this kept up, his heart wouldn't stay safe much longer. The morning air was thick with the smell of rain-soaked pine and tension. Kai hadn't slept again. He was out before sunrise, checking the tree line, scanning for movement. Tessa watched him from the doorway, mug in hand, wearing his oversized hoodie, the one she'd borrowed permanently. He didn't even glance at her. You're up early, he muttered. You mean I'm awake at a normal hour, she corrected. He gave her a sidelong look. Normal people don't drink cocoa, while holding it like a grenade. It's hot, she said defensively.
So's gunfire. You don't see me sipping that.
She blinked. That might be the weirdest sentence I've ever heard. Kai didn't respond. He was focused, scanning every sound, every branch creak. He had that sixth sense gang leaders developed, the constant hum of paranoia. Tessa set her mug down gently. You think they found us? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. By mid-morning, the air outside went still, unnaturally still. Kai felt it before he heard it, the hum of engines far off, the distant crunch of gravel. He cursed softly, moving fast. Get inside. Lock the back door. Tessa froze. Wait, what's?
Go. Now.
He grabbed his rifle from under the couch, checked the mag, chambered around. His calm was surgical. Tessa's pulse spiked. How many? 3 cars. Maybe 10 men. 10. Stay down. She ducked behind the kitchen counter, clutching her broom, again, because apparently her brain thought that was a weapon. Kai positioned himself by the window, eyes sharp, shoulders squared. Engines roared closer. Tires screeched. Then, silence. Come out, Navarro, a voice called from outside. We know you're in there. Kai muttered under his breath. Amateurs. Then crack. A bullet tore through the doorframe.
Tessa yelped.
Kai shouted, down, and returned fire, quick, clean, efficient. 3 bursts. She flinched at every shot, covering her ears. You're not gonna talk it out? They're not here for conversation, Kai grunted. A window shattered. Kai ducked, shot back, clipped one. Tessa peeked over the counter, just in time to see a man sneaking through the side. Her eyes widened. Kai. He turned, too late. The guy burst in, gun raised. Tessa screamed, then swung the broom. It cracked against the man's wrist. The gun clattered to the floor. Kai spun, grabbed the thug by the collar, and slammed him into the wall. The man dropped. Kai turned, stunned. Did you just save your butt? Yeah, I did. You hit him with a broom. Worked, didn't it? He blinked, then laughed. Actually laughed mid-firefight. You're insane. She grinned breathlessly. Told you I'm resourceful. More shots came from outside. Kai ducked behind the couch, reloaded. Tessa, stay there. No promises, she yelled, crawling toward a fallen phone. He glared. What part of stay do you not?
Boom.
The front window exploded, glass raining everywhere. Kai dove, pulling her down. For a heartbeat, everything slowed, gunfire muffled, his arm tight around her waist, her breath caught against his shoulder. Then the world snapped back. He dragged her behind the counter. You okay?
She nodded, dazed. Yeah.
My adrenaline's doing jazz hands, but I'm fine. He stared at her for a second too long, then snapped back to business. Stay behind me. They moved together, him firing precise shots, her ducking and occasionally shouting unhelpful things like left. No, your other left. When the last car peeled away, smoke rising from the wreckage of its tires, silence finally fell. Tessa peeked over the counter. Is it over? Kai breathed out slowly, lowering his gun. For now. She stood, brushing glass from her hair.
Well,
that was fun. Kai looked at her, incredulous. Fun. Okay, terrifying. But, in a cool, life-threatening kind of way. He huffed out a laugh despite himself. You're unbelievable. And you're welcome, she said with a little bow. For what? Not dying. You're welcome. Rico arrived an hour later, whistling low when he saw the bullet holes. Damn, boss. You redecorated? Solano's men found us, Kai said grimly. Rico eyed Tessa. And you survived? Tessa crossed her arms. Excuse me? Kai smirked faintly. She hit one with a broom. Rico blinked. Like a literal broom? Tessa lifted it proudly. My trusty sidekick. Rico burst out laughing. Boss, marry this one. She's fearless and unhinged. Kai rolled his eyes. She's also loud and disobedient. Tessa gasped. I saved your life. He gave her a look. You almost got shot doing it. Almost being the key word. Exactly, he muttered. Rico watched the exchange with a knowing grin. You two fight like an old couple. Kai glared. Get the door fixed. Rico chuckled. Whatever you say, boss. When Rico left, the house fell quiet again, except for Tessa's sweeping up broken glass. Kai leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching. You don't have to clean, he said. I need to do something. Sitting still makes me anxious. Noted. She paused, sweeping slower. You really could have died, huh? Kai's eyes flickered. Wouldn't be the first time someone tried. She looked at him, really looked. You ever think about quitting? Leaving all this? He smiled faintly. People like me don't get to quit. We just stop breathing one day. That's a grim career plan. He smirked.
Yeah, well.
For 01K wasn't hiring. Her laughter softened the heaviness of the air. Kai didn't say it, but her presence, her ridiculous energy, had started to chip away at something he didn't know could be repaired. When she finally set the broom aside, he stepped closer. You did good today, he said quietly. She blinked, surprised. You what? You heard me. Tessa smiled slowly. Careful. You almost sounded like a normal person. Kai tilted his head. Don't get used to it. Oh, I will. He smirked. You're impossible. She shrugged. You like that about me. He opened his mouth, and for a second, it looked like he might admit it. Then the generator buzzed. Lights flickered. He sighed. Of course. Romantic timing, 0, she said under her breath. Kai shot her a look. You think this is a romance? She smiled slyly. If it's not yet, it's getting there. That night, Kai patched up his arm in the dim kitchen light, a scrape from flying glass. Tessa appeared beside him, holding the first aid kit. He raised a brow. You planning to play nurse?
Yup.
Sit still. I can handle. Sure. She dabbed antiseptic, ignoring his wince. Tough guy, my foot. You flinch like a toddler. I don't flinch. You totally did.
He sighed.
You're insufferable. And yet, she said softly, meeting his gaze, you're not kicking me out. The air shifted, quiet, close. He watched her, her focus steady as she bandaged his arm. Why are you helping me? He murmured. She smiled faintly. Because you helped me first. He swallowed something sharp in his throat. That was my job. Then you're good at your job. She tied the bandage, fingertips brushing his skin. His breath hitched, almost imperceptibly. Their eyes met, a flicker of heat and confusion. Then Tessa looked away, cheeks pink. All done. He cleared his throat. Thanks. Anytime. Kai looked at her as she stepped back, hair messy, eyes bright, and for once, he didn't see a liability. He saw light in a life made of shadows. And that realization scared him more than the gunfire ever could. Later, while Tessa slept curled on the couch, Kai stood by the window again, staring out at the forest like it might offer answers. Rico's words echoed in his head. Marry this one. He almost smiled. Almost. The girl was chaos. She talked too much, touched everything, drove him mad. And yet, the silence, when she wasn't speaking, felt heavier than any bulletproof vest he'd ever worn. He ran a hand down his face and muttered under his breath, I'm losing my damn mind. But when he glanced at her, tangled in blankets, mumbling in her sleep, something softened inside him. He didn't know what this feeling was. He only knew one thing for sure. The safe house wasn't safe anymore, not from the outside world, but from whatever was happening inside his chest. By the fourth night in the safe house, Tessa had decided that Kai Navarro was the most frustratingly attractive man alive. Not because of the tattoos curling up his arm or the gravelly voice, though, sure, those didn't hurt. It was because he pretended not to care, even when his every move screamed otherwise. He'd repaired her broken mug without telling her. He'd adjusted the thermostat when she complained it was safe house cold. He'd even started making 2 cups of coffee instead of 1. But if she thanked him, he'd just grunt like some emotionally constipated robot. Right now, he was sitting at the kitchen table, cleaning his gun with the same focus monks gave prayer. Tessa, however, had bigger problems. Like the fact that she discovered an unopened box of cereal in the cupboard, his cereal, and she was starving. Can I have some? She asked, holding it up.
No.
Why not? Because it's mine. You've eaten canned beans for 3 days. He looked up. And you've eaten all the instant noodles. She gasped. You counted. I keep inventory. That's psychotic. That's survival. She huffed. I'll just take a little.
Tessa.
His voice dropped low, warning and rough, and for a second she froze. Then she smirked.
Fine.
Be serial selfish. He shook his head, but his mouth twitched like he was trying not to smile. Minutes later, she plopped down across from him with a stolen bowl anyway. Kai raised an eyebrow. You realize, he said, if the cops don't kill you, I might. Over breakfast? That's dramatic. You took half the box. I was hungry. You're impossible.
She grinned.
And yet, you still haven't tied me up and thrown me out the window. He stared at her, and then let out a quiet laugh, almost a whisper of disbelief. I've survived gunfights, betrayals, ambushes, but you're testing my limits. You love it. He didn't deny it. The next morning, Kai got a call. Not a safe one. Not through the secure line. Rico's voice was tense. Boss, word on the street. Solano's offering cash for your head. Double if the girl's alive. Kai's jaw clenched. How'd they trace us? Could be the last raid. Could be a leak. Find out who. On it. And boss, watch your back. You've got more to lose now. Kai didn't answer, but his silence said everything. When he hung up, Tessa was leaning in the doorway, chewing on her lip. That sounded ominous. It's fine. Fine? You just got a death bounty. He gave her that cold, calm look. It's not the first. She stepped closer.
Kai.
You can't keep pretending this is normal. I'm not pretending. Yes, you are. You talk like you're made of stone, but I know you. You care. You're scared. He laughed softly. Scared?
Me.
She folded her arms.
Yes.
Not for yourself. For us. That one word hung between them.
Us.
Kai's gaze dropped to the floor. You shouldn't include yourself in my problems. Well, too late. I'm already in them. He looked up, and for once, his expression cracked, something raw and dangerous flickering in his eyes. I'm trying to keep you alive, Tessa. That's all that matters right now. Then maybe let me help. You already have, he murmured. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she smirked faintly, trying to break the tension. You're getting soft. He exhaled through a crooked smile. Don't tell Rico. That night, it rained, the kind of endless drizzle that makes even killers nostalgic. Tessa sat cross-legged on the couch, sketching in a notebook she'd found. Kai, sitting nearby, was watching the static-filled TV, volume low, eyes half-focused. What are you drawing? He asked without looking. She hesitated. Promise not to laugh.
No.
She rolled her eyes and turned the page toward him. It was a cartoon version of them. Him, grumpy with crossed arms. Her, waving a broom like a sword. Above it, Team's safe house. Kai blinked. You made me adorable. You are adorable.
He deadpanned.
I'm a gang leader. And I'm an art major who saw you make soup for a stray cat last night. He froze. You weren't supposed to see that. I see everything. He groaned. I miss silence. She laughed, that full, bright sound he was secretly starting to crave. They ended up watching an old movie together, sitting closer than either admitted to noticing. At some point, her head leaned against his shoulder, slowly, cautiously, like she wasn't sure she was allowed. He didn't move, didn't breathe. When she fell asleep there, Kai stared at her for a long time, the way her hair framed her face, how the corners of her mouth curved even in dreams. He'd faced guns at his head without flinching, but this quiet warmth terrified him. At dawn, he stepped outside to think. The rain had stopped, the air cool and clean. Rico's voice echoed in his head again. You've got more to lose now.
He hated how true that was.
Because losing her, even the thought of it, made something twist painfully in his chest. By the time he came back in, she was in the kitchen, wearing his shirt again, sleeves rolled up, singing off-key while making breakfast. Good morning, she chirped. Kai eyed the mess. That's a lot of eggs. I got hungry. You always are. Maybe it's the adrenaline. Maybe you just eat like a raccoon. She gasped. You take that back. He smirked.
No.
You want breakfast or not?
He gave in. Fine.
But I'm not doing dishes.
Fine.
You shoot people, I'll scrub plates. Division of labor. They sat across the table, sharing the same plate because she'd burned half the batch. It felt strangely normal. Like two people playing house instead of hiding from a crime syndicate. Later that day, they practiced shooting behind the shed, Kai's idea of productive bonding. Tessa held the gun awkwardly. Relax your shoulders, he said, stepping behind her. His hands moved over hers, guiding her grip. Her breath hitched. You're tense. Because you're very close. He chuckled low. Focus, rookie. She squinted, aimed, fired, missed by a mile. Kai snorted. Don't laugh, she protested. You shot the tree next to the target. It looked threatening. Aha. Fine, show me again.
He did.
This time, her back pressed fully into his chest, his voice a rough whisper in her ear. Breathe in.
Aim.
Exhale. She did and hit dead center. She turned, beaming. Did you see that? He smiled genuinely. Yeah, I did. Her eyes sparkled. Guess you're a good teacher. He looked at her, serious suddenly. Or maybe you're just better than you think. The air between them grew heavier, his gaze lingering too long, her heartbeat too loud. Then she grinned, breaking the spell. Still keeping score though. I'm 1 for 10.
He smirked.
Impressive ratio. Oh, shut up. That night, she found him outside again, sitting on the porch steps, cigarette smoke curling in the moonlight. Couldn't sleep, she asked. Never do. Want company? He nodded once. She sat beside him, knees tucked in, silence stretching comfortably. After a minute, she asked softly, when did you join them? The gang? Kai took a drag, exhaled slow. 17. Had nowhere else to go.
My old man left.
My mom didn't make it. Tessa's voice softened. I'm sorry. He shrugged. Life doesn't wait for sympathy.
Still.
That's awful. He glanced at her. What about you? What got you mixed up in this mess? She chuckled faintly. I witnessed a shooting, took a video, and suddenly I was the world's least wanted influencer. Kai smirked. You and your timing. She grinned back. Hey, at least I met you.
He froze at that.
She noticed, her tone turning quieter. You ever think about what happens when this is over? Don't. Why not? Because I don't get to have after. You could. He shook his head. You still believe in maybes. I don't. She leaned closer. Then maybe I'll believe enough for both of us. He looked at her, really looked. The firelight flickering in her eyes. The softness that didn't belong in his world, but somehow fit there anyway. He wanted to say something, anything, but all that came out was a rough, you should sleep. Will you?
No.
She smiled sadly. Then I'll stay up with you. And she did. They sat together until dawn. Two people from opposite worlds, bound by danger, laughter, and something they couldn't name yet. Inside, as the first light bled through the blinds, Kai realized something terrifying. The witness wasn't just under his protection anymore. She'd become the only thing keeping him human. And though he'd never say it out loud, he was already hers. The world beyond the safe house hadn't disappeared. It had only gone quieter, more dangerous. Solano's crew was still out there, and now, Kai had to move before they found the next hideout. Pack light, he told Tessa, tossing her a backpack. She blinked. We're leaving? Again? Safe house is blown. Rico's setting up a new location. She frowned. You ever think about living somewhere that doesn't require bulletproof curtains? Every day. Maybe somewhere with, I don't know, flowers? He gave her a look. I'm not a garden guy. Liar. You fed a cat last week.
He sighed.
You'll never let that go, will you? Not a chance. She grinned as she stuffed her clothes in the bag, humming under her breath. Kai glanced at her and immediately looked away. She had this annoying habit of making chaos look like home. By nightfall, Rico rolled up in a black SUV. Boss, got a new spot, he said. Old warehouse near the docks. Quiet. Nobody'll bother us. Good. Tessa peeked into the car. Warehouse? Sounds cozy. Rico chuckled. It's got walls. And maybe rats. Tessa gasped. Actual rats or metaphorical ones? Both, Kai muttered. Fantastic, she said dryly. Can't wait. The new hideout was exactly what Tessa imagined. Echoing halls, rusted beams, and an unsettling draft that made every door creak like a ghostly whisper. Kai scanned every corner before settling. You take the office upstairs. I'll sleep down here. No shared bedtime stories, she teased. He gave her a flat look. I'll pass. She smirked. Your loss. I tell good ones. Like what? Once upon a time, there was a grumpy gangster who secretly had a heart. Sounds fake. Sounds familiar, she shot back. He couldn't help it, he laughed. That sound echoed through the empty building, strange and warm amid all the steel and shadows. 2 nights later, Rico brought news that ruined the brief calm. Boss, Solano's planning a meet at Club Azure tomorrow. All the major crews will be there. Kai stiffened. You sure?
Yeah.
Word is, he's bragging about having your safe house list. Impossible. Rico shrugged. Guy's loud. You show up, maybe you find out who's talking. Tessa, sitting nearby, frowned. You're going to a gang party? Kai corrected her. A meet, not a party. Tomato. I'm coming. Absolutely not. Absolutely yes. Tessa. Do you trust me? Kai hesitated. That question always hit harder than it should. This isn't a game. I know. That's why you need someone who can blend in. You stand out. I don't. Rico whistled low. She's got a point, boss. Kai glared. Whose side are you on? The side that likes drama, Rico said, grinning. Unbelievable, Kai muttered. But in the end, he agreed, reluctantly. The next night, Club Azure pulsed with light and danger. Smoke, bass, and expensive perfume hung thick in the air. Kai looked sharp in a black suit, shirt unbuttoned just enough to say don't test me. Tessa, meanwhile, stepped out of the car and stole his breath. She wore a sleek red dress, simple, but devastating. Kai froze mid-step. What the hell are you wearing? It's called blending in, she said sweetly. You're supposed to look invisible, not like that. She smirked. You don't like it? He cleared his throat. It's distracting. Good. Maybe Solano's men will be distracted too. Inside, the club was a blur of flashing lights and whispered deals. Rico slipped away to scout while Kai and Tessa took a corner booth. You stay close, Kai muttered. Tessa sipped her drink, eyes wide. Relax, boss man. I've watched enough spy movies. Yeah, and how many of those spies survive? Touché. As they waited, a tall man in a silver jacket approached, Solano's lieutenant, Carlos Vega. Well, Kai Navarro in my club. Didn't think you had the guts. Kai leaned back casually. Funny, I was about to say the same to you. Carlos laughed. Still hiding girls in safe houses, I hear? Kai's jaw tensed. Careful, Vega. Oh, I see. She's here too. Carlos's eyes slid to Tessa, slow, deliberate, disrespectful. Cute. You upgraded. Before Tessa could blink, Kai was up, fist gripping Carlos's collar. The entire club went silent. Say that again, Kai growled. Carlos smirked. Touchy. Rico appeared out of nowhere. Boss, he hissed. Not here. Cameras. Kai released him reluctantly. Carlos straightened his jacket, sneering. Enjoy your little date, while it lasts. As he walked away, Tessa whispered, Wow, that went well. Kai exhaled, rubbing his neck. You shouldn't have come. I told you I'm fine. You don't get it. Guys like him. I can handle creeps, Kai. He met her gaze, frustrated, protective, something else simmering underneath. I don't want you to have to. That silenced her. They left after midnight. The club lights faded in the rearview mirror, and tension filled the car. Tessa finally broke the silence. You didn't have to get angry. Yes, I did. Why? He looked straight ahead. Because I don't like when people look at you like that. She smirked softly. Jealous? He shot her a sharp glance. No. Liar. Watch it. Face says yes. Face says stop talking. She giggled. You're terrible at hiding feelings. Kai groaned. You're impossible. And you're adorable when you're mad. Don't push it. Already did. He bit back a smile. Back at the warehouse, the night felt heavier, full of unspoken things. Tessa brushed past him on the stairs, her perfume still lingering in the air. He tried not to notice, failed miserably. When she reached the top, she looked back down. Hey. He looked up. What? For someone who doesn't care, you sure act like you do. Then she disappeared into her room. Kai stood frozen for a long time, staring at the empty stairs. Later, he found himself pacing the lower floor, unable to shake the image of her in that dress, the way she'd looked at him, daring, teasing, but soft around the edges. Rico showed up again, breaking his daze. You good, boss? Define good. You're staring at stairs. Leave it. Rico grinned. You've got it bad. Kai glared. I've got nothing.
Sure.
Keep telling yourself that. Kai turned away, but Rico's laughter echoed through the hall. Upstairs, Tessa lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She hated to admit it, but his anger earlier, that raw protectiveness, had sent her heart spinning. The man was chaos and calm, violence and tenderness, all wrapped up in dark eyes and scarred knuckles. She told herself she didn't like him, that it was just adrenaline, cabin fever, whatever. But the truth was starting to slip through, no matter how much she joked or teased. Kai Navarro had become her safety, her danger, her entire contradiction. And for the first time, the thought of leaving when it was over scared her more than staying did. Downstairs, Kai finally gave up pretending. He leaned against the window, staring out at the docks, whispering under his breath, "She's going to be the death of me." And he meant it, every word. The safe house was no longer safe. The morning after the attack, Dante stood by the shattered window, watching the sunlight crawl through bullet holes. His gun rested in his hand, his jaw tight. Tessa sat behind him on the couch, clutching a blanket around her shoulders. The faint smell of smoke lingered in the air. This place is compromised, he muttered, scanning the street below. We leave in 10. Tessa blinked sleepily. 10 minutes? I haven't even brushed my teeth. He turned, dead serious.
Tessa, now.
The tone in his voice snapped her upright. She jumped off the couch, clutching her suitcase like it was a lifeline, though it now looked more like a pink beacon of trouble. They left through the back alley, Dante leading with his gun drawn, Tessa following close behind. The city was just waking up, streetlights fading into dawn haze. She tried to keep quiet, but every few steps, something went wrong. Her shoes squeaked, her bag zipper jingled, or she whispered, "Are we almost there?" After 10 minutes of this, Dante sighed. "Do you ever stop talking?" "Only when I'm dead," she shot back automatically. Then winced. "Okay, bad timing. Sorry." Despite himself, he almost smiled. Almost. They moved from alley to alley until Dante found a beat-up sedan behind an auto shop. He popped the lock with a flick of his knife and motioned her in.
Seatbelt, he ordered.
"Are we stealing this car?" "Borrowing." With no intention of returning it, he started the engine. Semantics. She bit her lip, suppressing a grin as the car roared to life. The first 2 hours were tense. Dante drove like a machine, eyes scanning every mirror, one hand on the wheel, the other resting dangerously close to his gun. Tessa sat rigid, hugging her knees, glancing between him and the passing highway. Finally, she broke the silence. "You always this cheerful on road trips?" He gave her a flat look. "This isn't a road trip. Could have fooled me. We've got snacks, an unregistered car, and a vague sense of doom. That's like every road trip movie ever." He didn't answer, but she could see his jaw twitch, the Dante equivalent of a laugh. After another hour, he pulled into a roadside diner. "We'll eat here. 15 minutes. Tessa blinked. "Wait, we can just eat? Don't mobsters have, like, secret ration packs or something?" He looked at her. "I'm not a Boy Scout. Let's go." Inside, the diner smelled of grease and burnt coffee. Tessa's eyes lit up as if it were five-star dining. She ordered pancakes stacked high with whipped cream. Dante just got black coffee. As they sat in a booth by the window, she stirred her syrup thoughtfully. "You ever think about leaving? The gang stuff, I mean." He stared into his coffee. "Every day." She tilted her head. "So, why don't you?" "Because when you build your life in the dark," he said quietly, "the light feels like exposure." That shut her up for once. She looked down at her plate, her chest tightening with something she didn't understand yet. When they left, she slipped a small napkin doodle onto the table, a sketch of him, half in shadow, half in light. He didn't see it, but the waitress did. She smiled. By nightfall, they reached an old motel off a back road. The neon sign flickered like it was struggling to stay alive. Vac and CY. Dante booked the room under a fake name. Inside, it was small but clean. One bed, of course. Oh no, Tessa said dramatically. One bed. How cliché. Dante dropped his bag with a thud. You take the bed. I'll sleep in the chair. She smirked. You sure? I snore, steal blankets, and talk in my sleep. I've slept next to men who snore louder than engines. I'll live. They ate instant noodles from the motel's vending machine, sitting on the floor while the TV played static. Despite the chaos of the last 24 hours, it almost felt normal. You ever think I'll survive this? She asked softly. Dante looked at her, really looked. The bruises beneath her eyes, the courage behind her trembling smile. You already have, he said. Her lips parted slightly, a breath caught between laughter and something deeper. She turned away, heart pounding too fast. The next morning he was gone. She shot up from the bed, panic flooding her chest. His gun was missing. His jacket too. Dante? She called out, voice breaking. No answer. She rushed outside, barefoot, scanning the empty parking lot, until she saw him leaning against the car, talking to someone on a burner phone. His tone was low, sharp. I told you not to contact me. We're done. I don't care if the serpents are moving. He froze when he saw her. Everything okay? She asked carefully. He hung up.
Yeah.
Just business.
Right.
Business. You look tense. He grunted. You look nosy. She crossed her arms. That's because you're hiding something. I'm hiding you, he said, stepping closer. That's enough. The words hit harder than either expected. The air between them thickened, not angry, not soft, just charged. She stared up at him. Why do you care so much, Dante? He hesitated. Because, he stopped himself, shaking his head. Because it's my job. Her chest dropped.
Right. Your job.
She turned away, climbing into the car. He followed, jaw tight, expression unreadable. They drove in silence until sunset. The tension simmered until it broke in the most unexpected way. A gas station stop. Tessa darted into the store for snacks. 10 minutes later, she returned with an armful of junk food, chips, soda, gummy bears, and... Is that a stuffed raccoon? Dante asked, incredulous. His name is Gerald. He's our emotional support mascot now. He pinched the bridge of his nose. You realize stealth isn't possible with you around? You're just jealous Gerald gets more hugs than you. He shot her a look that was half death glare, half something softer. I don't do hugs. Noted, she said with a grin, tearing open a bag of chips. But you might someday. He shook his head, starting the car. You're impossible. And you're fun when you're pretending not to be human.
He couldn't help it, he laughed.
A low, surprised sound that even startled him. That night, they stopped near a quiet lake. The moon reflected off the water, silver ripples cutting through the dark. They sat on the hood of the car, sharing a can of Pringles in silence. For once, Tessa didn't speak. She just watched him, his profile in the moonlight, the scar near his jaw, the way his shoulders never fully relaxed. He caught her staring. What? Just thinking. Dangerous habit. About how you look less scary when you're not frowning. He smirked faintly. I'm always frowning. Not right now. Their eyes met, and something in the air shifted. Slow, quiet, electric. He leaned in slightly, not enough to touch, but enough that she could feel the warmth of his breath. You should get some sleep. She smiled. You first, tough guy. Hours later, Tessa lay in the back seat, staring at the stars through the cracked window. Her mind replayed every moment. His rare smiles, the way he said her name when he was worried, how his silence somehow felt safe. Somewhere between running for her life and stealing his hoodie earlier that night, something inside her changed. Her thoughts whispered the truth she wasn't ready to say aloud. I think I fell for him. And in the front seat, Dante sat awake, gun on his lap, pretending to watch the road. But really, his eyes flicked to the mirror every few seconds, watching her sleep. He didn't know what terrified him more, the enemies chasing them, or the thought that he was falling too. The dawn broke over the horizon in a pale wash of orange and gold. Dante had been awake all night, every muscle in his body wired tight. The car was parked under a bridge by a quiet stream, a temporary pause in their endless flight. Tessa stirred awake in the back seat, groggy but still beautiful in that messy, unfiltered way that drove him insane. You didn't sleep again, she murmured, sitting up. He didn't look at her. Didn't need to. She stretched, yawning. You say that like it's normal for people to run on caffeine and trauma. It's worked so far. Until it doesn't, she said softly, watching him with concern. You can't keep carrying everything, Dante. You're not bulletproof. His jaw clenched. Close enough. Tessa sighed, knowing better than to argue. She rummaged through her snack stash, pulling out a pack of cookies. Breakfast. He gave her a sidelong glance. That's not breakfast. It has wheat and sugar, both food groups. He exhaled through his nose, almost smiling. For a few minutes, the morning felt gentle. Then Dante's burner phone buzzed. The tone in the air shifted instantly. He answered with a curt yeah. A voice crackled on the other end, Rico, his second in command. Boss, we've got a problem. The Black Serpents hit one of our warehouses. Word is they're after the girl. They know she's with you. Dante's grip on the phone tightened. How the hell do they know that? Inside leak, maybe. But there's more. The big boss wants you back. He says if you don't hand her over, you're done. Whole crew's at risk. Dante's voice dropped, dark and cold. Tell him I don't take orders that get innocent people killed. Boss, think about what you're saying. I already did. He hung up, tossing the phone onto the dashboard. Tessa had gone still. You're in trouble because of me, aren't you? He turned to her. Not because of you. Because of them. Dante, if you're boss. I'll handle it. She looked at him, eyes wide, searching his face. You're going to fight your own people? He didn't answer. That was enough. By afternoon, they were on the move again, the tension thick enough to choke on. Tessa could see the storm brewing behind Dante's calm exterior. Every glance in the mirror, every flick of his hand toward the gun at his hip, it was all survival instinct. You don't have to do this, she said quietly. If you take me to the police, they can protect me. You don't have to go down with me. Dante's laugh was humorless. You think the cops can protect you from people like us? From people like me? She didn't back down. You're not like them. He looked at her, really looked, and the words hit somewhere deep he didn't want to acknowledge. Don't start thinking I'm some hero, Tessa. I've done things you can't forgive. Maybe, she said. But you've also done things you didn't have to. Like keeping me alive. Silence stretched between them, sharp and aching. They reached the outskirts of the city by dusk. The skyline shimmered in the distance, but Dante turned down an industrial road instead, parking in front of an abandoned factory. Wait here, he said. Tessa frowned. What are you doing? Talking to someone who owes me answers. He stepped out before she could argue. Through the windshield, she saw him meet a tall man near the loading dock, Rico, the one from the phone. They spoke in harsh whispers, gestures sharp and urgent. Tessa watched, nerves crawling under her skin. The air outside felt wrong. After a minute, Rico's voice rose. You can't save her, Dante. The boss made his deal. Either you bring her in, or we all pay. Dante shoved him back. I don't care. I'm not giving her up. Rico's face twisted. Then you're not one of us anymore. The sound of a gun cocking echoed across the yard. Tessa's breath caught. Without thinking, she bolted from the car. Dante. The moment she yelled, everything went to hell. A black SUV screeched around the corner, the Serpents. Gunfire erupted, bullets sparking off metal and concrete. Dante grabbed Tessa, dragging her behind cover. Stay down, he barked. I wasn't planning on doing jumping jacks, she shouted back, trembling but defiant. He fired back, precise and lethal, taking down two Serpents. Rico ducked for cover, yelling into his radio. The factory lot became chaos, shouting, gunfire, the roar of engines. Tessa huddled close, covering her ears. Then she saw a shadow moving behind Dante, one of the Serpents creeping closer, gun raised. Dante, she screamed. He spun just in time, but the shot grazed a shoulder, knocking him back. She didn't think. She grabbed the fallen pistol from the ground and fired blindly. The recoil nearly knocked her over, but the bullet hit true. The Serpent went down. Dante stared at her, stunned. You. Lucky shot, she panted, heart pounding. Don't get used to it. He let out a low, incredulous laugh even as he pulled her behind a car. Remind me never to underestimate you again. Remind me to wear earplugs next time, she muttered. When the smoke cleared, most of the Serpents were gone or down. Rico stood frozen, gun in hand, torn between loyalty and friendship. Rico, Dante said, voice raw. Walk away. Tell the boss I'm gone. Rico hesitated, then lowered his gun. You're a dead man if he finds you. Then I'll make sure he doesn't. Rico gave a bitter nod. You always did have a death wish. He turned and disappeared into the dark. Dante turned back to Tessa, blood staining his sleeve. You okay? She nodded shakily. You got shot again. Occupational hazard. She gave a wet laugh, tears spilling down her cheeks. You're insane. Probably. Her hands trembled as she reached up, touching his face. You could have left me. You should have left me. He caught her wrist gently. I tried. Their eyes locked, every word unspoken, every barrier gone. The danger, the fear, the lies, none of it mattered anymore. I don't even know who I am with you, he whispered. She smiled through her tears. Maybe that's the point. Then he kissed her. Rough, desperate, full of everything they'd both been running from. The world around them burned, but for a heartbeat, they didn't care. Later, when the sirens in the distance grew louder, Dante pulled away. We have to go.
Now.
She nodded, wiping her tears. Where? Anywhere, he said. As long as it's not here. As they walked away from the factory, Tessa glanced back at the smoke curling into the night sky. The place where their chaos had peaked, and something new had begun. For the first time since it all started, she wasn't afraid. Because she knew one thing for certain now. She wasn't just running with Dante. She was running to him. The safe house was gone, the gang was gone, the chaos was gone, and for the first time in years, Dante Morello didn't wake up to gunfire or guilt. He woke up to sunlight filtering through thin curtains and the soft sound of humming coming from the next room. He lay still for a moment, hand instinctively reaching for the gun on the nightstand. Then he stopped. There was no threat here. Not anymore. The hum turned into words. Off-key, but warm. Tessa. She was in the tiny kitchen, wearing one of his shirts and making a heroic attempt at pancakes. Smoke filled the air like a fog of domestic disaster. Dante leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, a ghost of a smile playing at his lips. You trying to burn the apartment down? Or is this your way of saying good morning? Tessa jumped, spinning around with a spatula in hand like it was a weapon. You scared me. Good. You need better situational awareness. She squinted at him. You need better manners. He chuckled, a sound that used to feel foreign. What even is that smell? Victory, she declared. And possibly rubber. He walked over, took the spatula from her hand, and flipped the pancake effortlessly. You were about to carbonize this. Okay, gangster Gordon Ramsay, she said, rolling her eyes. When did you get so domestic? When I realized you'd starve without me, he said flatly, but his tone was softer than usual. She smiled at that, a real, bright smile that hit him like sunlight. After breakfast, which she rated a solid 3 out of 10, with bonus points for effort, they sat on the couch, eating the slightly burnt pancakes and watching a cheap morning talk show with the volume too low to hear. It had been 3 months since the factory shootout. 3 months since Dante walked away from the gang, leaving behind a world that once defined him. He'd faked his death with Rico's help, buried the Dante Morello name, and started a small private security firm under a new alias. Daniel Russo. A clean slate. Or, as clean as it could get. Tessa had stayed. At first, she said it was because she had nowhere else to go. Then, slowly, neither of them bothered pretending anymore. Now, they shared a small, sunlit apartment above a florist shop in a sleepy coastal town, the kind of place where no one asked questions and time moved slower. She painted again. He fixed locks and installed alarms for local businesses. And every night, they fell asleep with the windows open and the ocean humming outside. Peace. Something neither of them thought they'd ever deserve. Do you ever miss it? She asked one afternoon while painting. Her hair was tied up in a messy bun, a streak of blue paint on her cheek. He looked up from the security reports he was reviewing. Miss what? The danger. The chaos. The part of you that used to live for the adrenaline. He thought about it. Sometimes. Then I look at you, and it feels stupid. She smiled faintly. You used to scare people, you know. I still do. Not me. Yeah, he said softly. That's what scares me. She put her brush down, walked over, and sat beside him. You don't have to be scared anymore. He didn't answer. Instead, he leaned forward and kissed her forehead, a quiet, wordless thank you for everything she never asked for but gave anyway. That evening, they walked along the boardwalk. She had her hands buried in his jacket pockets, and he carried her shoes because she claimed, barefoot makes me feel poetic. The sky was streaked in pink and gold, gulls swooping over the water. Couples passed by, laughing softly, but Dante and Tessa moved at their own pace, like two people who had already lived a lifetime in the span of a few chaotic weeks. Do you ever think about what would have happened if we hadn't met? She asked. He raised an eyebrow. I'd probably be dead. Wow. So romantic. He smirked. Or in jail. Take your pick. She laughed, bumping his shoulder. You really know how to charm a girl. I charmed you, didn't I? Oh no, that was Stockholm Syndrome. He stopped walking, turning to her. You sure about that? Her teasing grin faltered under the weight of his gaze. Pretty sure, she whispered. Because I remember the way you looked at me that night in the motel, he said. And again by the lake. And every day since then. Her cheeks flushed. You remember all that? I don't forget the things that matter. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then she rose on her toes and kissed him, slow, sweet, no chaos behind it this time. Just quiet certainty. Later that night, back in the apartment, Tessa stood at her easel, putting the finishing touches on her new painting, a piece she'd been working on for weeks. It was called Safe House. The canvas showed two figures, a man in shadow, gun hanging loosely at his side, and a woman standing in front of him, holding out a candle. Between them, A soft light glowed, small, fragile, but enough to push the darkness back. Dante stood behind her, silent for a moment. That us? Maybe, she said, not turning. Depends if you like it. I do, he said quietly. It's honest. She smiled.
Good.
I was worried you'd say, I made your nose too big. He snorted. You did. Liar. He wrapped an arm around her waist from behind, pulling her against his chest. You know, he murmured, I used to think peace was something only other people got to have. And now it's sitting in my arms, arguing about art. She turned in his embrace, resting her forehead against his. You're getting soft, Mr. Russo. He smirked. Don't tell anyone. Your secret's safe with me, she whispered. They stayed like that for a while, no guns, no gang, no running. Just warmth, quiet laughter, and the steady rhythm of two hearts finally beating at peace. Weeks later, Tessa's first small gallery show opened. The collection, titled Safe House, was an intimate mix of sketches and paintings inspired by her time on the run. People loved it. One critic called it a story of danger turned tender. Dante watched from the corner, hands in pockets, pretending he didn't belong in a room full of art lovers sipping champagne. When Tessa came over, radiant in a simple blue dress, he leaned down and said, You know, for someone who almost got me killed 12 times, you clean up pretty well.
She grinned.
And for someone who threatened to throw me out a window, you're not bad either. They clinked glasses. Later that night, back home, Tessa stood by the window, looking out at the quiet street. The moonlight painted her face silver. You know, she said softly, I think I fell for you somewhere between your gun collection and your bad attitude. He looked up from the couch, a smirk tugging at his mouth. Guess the safe house wasn't so bad after all. She turned to him, eyes shining. No, it wasn't. And as she crossed the room and curled up beside him, their fingers intertwined, not out of fear, not out of need, but because they'd finally found something real. Two broken souls who'd learned how to build peace out of chaos. And in that small, sunlit apartment above a florist shop, love wasn't something dangerous anymore. It was safe. It's been a year since the last gunshot. A year since Dante Morello vanished, and Daniel Russo quietly took his place. The world moved on. The gangs tore each other apart, the cops found new targets, and the streets forgot his name. But in a quiet coastal town, the man who once ruled the underworld now spends his mornings drinking coffee beside the woman who once drove him insane. Tessa still paints. Her art now hangs in cafes and galleries, each piece touched with the same theme, light in dark places. She swears she's done with danger, though sometimes she still catches Dante glancing over his shoulder when a car backfires or a stranger lingers too long. Old habits die slow. But every time, she reaches out, just a touch of her hand on his, and he exhales. The tension fades. The world is quiet again. Sometimes they joke about writing a book. Love in the Safe House, she teases. Genre, romance, stupidity, and smoke alarms. He smirks, with bonus chapters on how to hide snacks from gangsters. And sometimes, late at night, when the moonlight slides through the blinds, he'll whisper, You saved me, you know. And she'll answer, You just needed someone to make you pancakes that didn't taste like crime. They laugh. They kiss. And for once, nothing explodes afterward. In another life, they were chaos. But here, in this quiet, sunlit life they built from the ruins, there's something else entirely. They're safe. And for both of them, that's the most dangerous, beautiful feeling in the world.